All right, so Be'ezrat Hashem, we're saying Pasuk. Today we're going to learn Pasuk Vav and Zayin. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to try. We're going to try. Okay. Ad she'yafuah hayom, until the day
500 feet, take the interstate.
blows,
Exit on the left towards Brooklyn, Queens.
passes on. Venasu atzelalim, and the shadows and the clouds disappear, go away. Elechli el haramor, I will go to the haramor, to the mount of the mirrors, right? The mor is the smell, those that plant, the mir that smells. Ve'el givat levona, and to the hill of the levona, of the frankincense. Kulach yafara ayati, every part of you, your all is beautiful, my beloved. Umumenbach, and you have no mum, you have no disabilities, you have no and you don't have any blemishes, right? So Shlomo HaMelech, since the beginning of the Perek, is praising his Kala, is praising his Neshama, Knesset Israel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is praising Knesset Israel for different facets of Avodat Hashem that allow to retain such a strong connection. And we're going from the top to the bottom, right? Here, if you see, after we talk about the lungs and the breasts, that's it. Kulach yafara ayati umumenbach, with the entire body, we're going back to the entire body. Which means that at least for the moment, there is no direct focus on other parts of the body of the avodat for the avodat Hashem, right? Once we have discussed or addressed the two biggest yetzarim, the two biggest instincts of man, which is the desire and the emotional reaction through anger, right? And everything at the end stems from it. All emotions stem from it, or from the desire, or from a reaction. Okay, excessive reaction. Yes. Okay. And they both, right, are coming from the same mother, from the same root, as we addressed. So, kulach yafara ayati umumenbach. You are beautiful, and there is no flaws, meaning there is nothing at that point refraining us from staying on that level connected. However, before he says Pasuk Zayin, he throws in a little curveball. Until the day finishes, and the clouds disappear, we will go El Haramor, we will go to the Mount of the Mirror, and to the Giv'ah of the Levona, of the frankincense. The Gaon Mivilna says the following. He says that She'afu Hayom, we're talking about days of challenges. At She'afu Hayom, when the day, blows away, the day represents the clarity, represents control, right? Opportunities, proactivity. When that era, when that time where you're in control, where things are flawless, when you have the ability to progress and everything is clear in front of you and you assess properly everything goes, right? Until that time goes, I need until the day goes, Venasu atzelalim, and the clouds disappears, flee. I have to go elech al haramor before that period of time, and we will see what everything means. I have to go to the haramor and to the Givat Alevuna. Says the Gaon, he says the period of clarity and the concept of day is when Moshe and Aharon, that are represented by the two dadim, right, by the two breasts in the pasuk before, passed on. It's like when the control of chesed and the control of din are no longer here under your full control. Venasu atzelalim, and the clouds in that context, says the Gaon, represents, is a parallelism to the anane kavod, to the protection of the protection of the cloud. When you feel you're no longer protected, when you feel you're no longer in control, you don't have the ability to channel or to control the channel of your chesed or of your din. Before I lose all this, I need to secure what? Elech li el haramor. I need to secure my location of haramor and of Givat Alevona. Says the Gaon Vilna, haramor is masculine. Giv'ah is feminine. Okay? He says from here we learn two things. Haramor represents Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, says Shlomo HaMelech, and we know that Shlomo HaMelech had a very, very detailed study scientifically of Yerushalayim. And Chachamim tell us that he had the ability to know which vein in the earth would go in which place on earth, and was able to plant every fruit around the world in Yerushalayim, because he knew exactly from each fruit around the world where they were getting their energy or their vitamins or their source of life from Yerushalayim. So Haramor is the Zachar, is the masculine essence that gives. We've addressed this many times, right? The Zachar gives. I need to go to Yerushalayim. I need to go to a place or to tap in to the part of my essence that is the giver. Ve'el Givat Alevona, Giva is feminine. It receives, the female receives, the Nekeva received, and he says this is the Bet HaMikdash. The Bet HaMikdash doesn't give, the Bet HaMikdash receives from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Yerushalayim gives to the world. Just incredible, interesting that right at this time we're talking, now Shlomo HaMelech is addressing Yerushalayim and the Bet HaMikdash. Again, mind-boggling how the alignment of the subject we're learning is so apropos. So the Gaon says that in order to be able to retain a level of control of our spiritual connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in times where we don't have so much power or so much clarity or so much eases in what we do, it's important to find a point of reference in two locations that are symbolic. Yerushalayim, which represents the power of giving, which represents the essence of the Zachar, of the male that's in us, right? but also the ability to receive Yerushalayim. And there is an order. He says that Yerushalayim comes before the Bet HaMikdash. Yerushalayim is the giver, and which is Haramor, and Bet HaMikdash is the receiver, which is the Givat HaLevona. The Har is high, the Giva'ah, the plain is low. Meaning, Shlomo HaMelech comes and tells us when there is times where you feel you don't have so much clarity, then be proactive in the giving, be proactive in the influence, be proactive in the ongoing actions, but be also sensitive to be able to be a vessel to receive. It's a balance that has a little bit more focus on the proactivity than on the receiving side, but that creates that balance and that anchor in order to be able to stay on a level of control in our lives. Why is Shlomo HaMelech tapping into this after all those criterias and traits and characteristics he praised since the beginning of the Perek? It's because when a person loses a level of comfort of proactivity and success, instinctively it's like a fish outside of the water. The survival instinct kicks in, and we lose control over our behavior. Says Shlomo HaMelech, in order not to lose that control, you have to have you have to tap into the core essence of who you are, right? Which is what? Which is a dominant giver and a recessive receiver. Do not react all the way into enforcing and imposing actions, because you're going to get lost in it and it's not proper. But also don't freeze and paralyze and expect everything to come to you and start being a receiver. So you have to promote the proactivity without giving up the humility and the clarity that you also need to receive. With that, says Shlomo HaMelech, which is also a trait that is critical to the growth and stability of a person, with that, as part of the traits that he has stated until now. So it's not just, let me give you a good tip. This is what it takes. These are traits and characteristics that you need to have that are detrimental to your growth if you lose them, or to your stability if you lose them. So it's also a way to praise. If you have that, you are praised for it. With this, along with everything we've addressed, from the brain, from the lips, from the mouth, from the neck, from the ta'avot, from the midot, with all this, right? When you know how to tap into your core essence, and this is what you need as a shield to keep your protection, to keep your connection. Kulach yafa ra'ayati. You will see that you will stay beautiful, complete. You will have no averot. You will have no room for failure and mistakes. Why? He says because the yofi, as we say, is the complete thing, yafa, but it is also the proaction, the mitzvot aseh, kulach yafa. How are you beautiful? By the actions that you do, but what you show, right? This is the mitzvot aseh. Umum and ba'ach, and you don't have any flaws. You don't have any malformations, kivyachol, right? You don't have averot, right? This is the lo ta'aseh. This is the lo ta'aseh. So if you again, Shlomo HaMelech comes and hides reveals behind the mitzvot aseh and the mitzvot lo ta'aseh a source of strength. You want to promote or you want to keep your mitzvot aseh strong beyond the proactive side. You want to be sensitive to the averot and to the mitzvot lo ta'aseh. Listen, be the receiver. Good? This is the Gaon Mivilna. This is the Gaon Mivilna. Beautiful, beautiful summary of what it takes to retain what we have when we think we're at risk or we're losing a momentum. And it should be a trigger in our mind, meaning we need to identify this behavior, tag it, and store it in our essence, in our brain, that when we feel that things are not going as good as they used to go, or we're not as in control, instead of panicking and freezing out of fear, or doing actions out of despair that will end up destroying us more than building us, we need to tap in right away into what? Into that balance of proactivity and receiving. We need to do more, and that will help us through the mitzvot also. But we have to also receive more. We have to be more careful about what we absorb, what we listen to. Be the vessel to absorb koach, to absorb, and it could be wisdom, it could be upliftment, it could be inspiration, it could be advice, right? In order to not overreact in the wrong way.
Rob, I understand very clearly the part about being the proactive. I think I understand a little bit about the receiving, but are you talking more about the mindset when you are receiving, or deciding what specifically to receive?
Both. It's the mindset, because think about it. When someone is under attack, or he thinks he's under attack, right? What's going to be the instinctive reaction?
Defense.
How? So
by not receiving, blocking it off.
1 second. It could be two things. Or he freezes because he doesn't know how to react, right? And he's scared, or he's taken by surprise, he's unclear, whatever it is. Or he's going to push back, right? These are the two ways, instinctively, right? If the person has awareness and understands the situation, so the proactivity is clear. But if you're too proactive, right, you lose the ability to gain wisdom. And now is not a time to think, or it's not a time to, I don't need advice right now. Now I need to do, right? We have found times like this in the Torah. When Bnei Israel was in front of the Yam Suf, Moshe Rabbeinu screams to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem tells him, now is not the time to pray. Now is the time to go in, jump into the water. We see that proactivity, right? But we may think, well, here you have a clear proof that this proves what Shlomo HaMelech is saying, right? Where is the balance? Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, don't overpray. Don't overpray. They prayed already. I already heard them, which means that before the action there was also prayers, right? Right. So, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I've heard the prayer, but now is the time of action. So he gives precedence to the action, but he didn't disregard the tefillah also. You understand?
Yes.
Right. So there is a time where you need to be able to for sure do the proactivity, but you cannot be disconnected from the fact that you have to be open to comfort, to be open to love, to advice, you need to be a receiver also. You cannot be only one or the other.
Clear. Thank you.
And by the way, this is a lesson in life. When there is an emotional shock, we could be very, very close and not willing to receive. Doesn't matter from who, not even from the one we love the most. We just don't allow them to give us love. We don't allow them to give us advice. And we're stuck. And we're stuck. Because we think that we need to do something. Or we think that our 100% focus has to be on, okay, how do I react now? Says Shlomo HaMelech, it's wrong. It's wrong. You need to always stay open to receive, because that's when that information that you can take at that time can help you tremendously in your proactivity. This is a message for life that can be applied in every situation, huh? Every situation. The Malbim says the following. Obviously, until the day passes, he says, the Shlomo HaMelech is preparing for, knows that level of connection he had, right? According to the Malbim, which was amazing because he was able to keep a level of connection, a prophetic connection with Hashem, and yet stay in touch with his body, right? So says says Shlomo HaMelech, I know that those days were finished. Same thing like the Gaon. I need to prepare myself before the day ends, before that high ends. I need to be able to prepare myself. He says the tzlalim, the clouds, is the if you want to place what clouds the sky, right? So the Gaon Mivina brings it as a level of protection. The Albin talks about it as more of a cloudy of a barrier that stops you from enjoying the light, right? And he says, what clouds your neshama? Your instinct, your emotions, right? Your yetzarim, your yetzerara. So he says, until the clouds actually go and start influencing again and getting into me again. Right now they're not here. The day will go. The tzlalim will go away. But what go away? Not go away from him. Will go away and will, meaning they're going to leave to come back and hurt me and disconnect me. He says, Elechi el haramor vel givat alevona. He says, I need to go and secure this level of spiritual connection on a physical level. How do I do that? Says Shlomo HaMelech, I need to have point of reference physically. I need to be able, through my physical senses, to tap into my spiritual connection. A tremendous thought, which he did bring in the past. But here he's focusing on it. And he's saying, in order for me to be able to find my way back, if I lose myself, I need to put taggers. Yeah. In my own, in my hush, in my senses. And he says the following. Meaning I'm bringing spirituality to a level of physicality. Okay? And he says, how is that? He says also the Har HaMor and the Har HaLevon and the Givat HaLevona represents also Yerushalayim and Bet HaMikdash. And he says the Bet HaMikdash was what? the Bet HaMikdash, if you take away the spiritual aspect, it was very graphic. Taking animals, slaughtering them, blood, fire, smell, essences, spice, right? There's a very graphic and physical avodah. The menachot, the korbanot. He says, this is what Shlomo HaMelech said. When he says, I have to go to the Har Hamor and the Givat HaLevona, is that I need to go down to the practicality of my spiritual life. People, and it's a big thing because people tend to believe that to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is to fly, to be on a high, right? But when it comes to actions, it's a different animal. Here, Shlomo HaMelech says, you can be on a super high, great, right? But if you really want to be able to get back to that high and consolidate it in your essence, in your nefesh, not in your neshama, in your nefesh, you need practical actions that will trigger that high. This is what the Bet HaMikdash was about. You brought the korban and it opened yourself to a high, to a spiritual high. But it was what? It was actions. And he says, and you have to build it. How? He says, well, okay, so it says, Elech li al har hamor ve'el givat halevona. He says, what is that? He says, why does Shlomo HaMelech refers to the Bet HaMikdash and the avodah of the Bet HaMikdash as to the Har Hamor and the Givat HaLevona? So he says, Har Hamor is a smell that is so refined, yeah, that your ability to smell picks up. Har Hamor refers to the ability to smell, to the actual sense of smelling. Givat HaLevona, he says, these are the mix of all the beautiful smells of the flowers that represents the essence. Not the sense of smelling, but the actual smell coming out of all those flowers. Says the Malbim, the flower represents, the Givat HaLevona represent the vegetative koach inside the nefesh. The Har Hamor represents the five senses, the sense within the five senses that represent the animalistic, right? Already, it's the first step that differentiates the vegetative koach within us and the animalistic kivyachol aspect within us. And I'm putting, the word animalistic in parentheses, going to refer to the Shmoneh Prakim La Rambam because it's just compared to the animals. It's not animalistic. It's really. But so says the Malbim, that in order to be practical and in order to bring down something spiritual to the lowest level of my essence, of my nefesh, I need to be able to take it to a vegetative level. How is that? He says the vegetative aspect of Avodat Hashem is the way you take care of your body. The eating, the breathing, the haircut, the food, the drinks. He says you need to be able to see Avodat Hashem on that level. When you sleep, when you eat, when you exercise. This is Givat HaLevona. And it's tremendously important because if your mundane physical routine is aligned with Avodat Hashem, especially when you're on a high, if you lose that high, that practicality will help you find your way back. The way you eat, the way you speak, what you see, what you don't allow yourself to see, your sleep, your intimacy, everything that is on a low end level, and here we tapped into the animalistic aspect of it, but yeah, all this allows you to find your way back. He says, and but there is more important than only the focus of the body. There is also the senses, which represent the animalistic aspect of it, which is, like we said, right, more instinctive, the more sense oriented. And the Torah is filled with it. Okay, of smells you're allowed to smell, what you're not allowed to smell, what you're allowed to touch, what you're not allowed to touch, what you're allowed to see, what you're not allowed to see. It's a point of reference, right, to the five senses that need to be imbibed and enhanced by your Avodat Hashem. When do I do it? When I'm on a high, when I have clarity, when the day is clear, when there's no clouds between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says Shlomo HaMelech, that's the only way I can retain that level. This is what allowed to create an osmosis between the body and the soul. Kulach yafa. He says, when you have that kulach, you in total, you completely yafa. Now you have perfect alignment. Umum and bach, and there is no disconnect between the five kochot, like the Rambam speaks about, the koach of tzomeach, the vegetative koach, the senses, the instinct, the imagination. Says the Malbim, if you educate yourself to go down to a level of practicality in your Avodat Hashem, then you are Yafa. And not only you are Yafa, in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are Yafa, you're complete, you're beautiful, you're the highest title, Aval Umum and Bach. Umum and Bach. I don't find vulnerability. I don't find mistakes. Yeah. So here the Malbim introduces or stresses the importance of not getting lost in our own. Not getting lost in our own fantasies of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are obligated, if we want to be able to find our way back into that maze, that's our, of our own internal wiring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to have a systematic, mundane action infused with HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Rav, can you give us a small example of that, just to make sure we fully grasp it?
Yeah, very easy, Tzaddik, very easy. The number of hours you sleep. When do you wake up? How do you walk to shul? How do you dress? What do you eat? How healthy it is? Do you take care of your body or you don't take care of your body? Right? All these actions that are fluctuating by every person, and even each person has all highs and lows and ups and downs. Yeah? Says Shlomo HaMelech, if there is overall purpose of all this, how do I serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? By sleeping. If I sleep well, I can focus better, I can be more energized. I can do better mitzvot. I can pray better, right? If and if I eat and what I eat, and again, I exercise. So if you infuse in all of these actions, and what you do and what you refrain yourself from, the idea that you're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu better, you're a better Oved Hashem, even when you're not on a spiritual high, you will still be able to ramp up that ladder and go back to that high. Because the high is magical. It's not something you can really explain. Sometimes we're on super highs, like Rabbi Chaim Vital writes in Shar HaKdusha. He says when you're on a high, is that your neshama is open. It's like you're being showered from the aura of the neshama. But that never lasts. So it's or you are a passenger and you benefit from those highs whenever they come, and you have zero control over it, or you build yourself the ladder that will allow you, when you lose that high, okay, to build yourself up.
Clear. Thank you.
Yeah. And says the Malbim, indirectly, but it says another amazing message. He says when you're able to be practical in your spiritual life, he says also it helps you from umum and bach, from not making mistakes as to what the definition of Oved Hashem is. He says many times, if you keep your avodah on a very high level, the translation into actions can be completely off. And then you start having a behavior that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Why? Because you never went down to a resolution of avodah that is practical, that is simple. And we've seen this many times. You see people, they go super high. Next thing you know, they're completely off track, or they create their own Torah. They have their own Shulchan Aruch. And they tell you what I mean, it's perfect. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And they're lying to themselves. Why? Because they want to keep their Avodat Hashem and their spiritual connection above the action, aside from the action. So there is two, it's almost like a schizophrenic behavior, where you have the spiritual behavior and then you have the practical behavior, and they just are completely incoherent. If they just they cannot coexist. But when you're taking your chokhmah, your limud, the taste you have when you learn Torah, the taste you feel when you're praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the high that you feel, it's okay. Now, this is what I want, and this is what I want to keep. Now, how do I apply it better in my routine? So I will say berachot better. I will act better. I will speak nicer. I will refrain myself from saying so. How many times I go to meetings and good people, very good people, they speak and there's garbage coming out of their mouth. I'm not talking about the content. I'm talking the words that they say. And we've discussed it, and it's so important to stress it. And we think that it's normal that if you go to a meeting that is not in shul, so you could say bad words. But when you're in shul, you're not going to say it. Or when you're in front of the rabbi, have to refrain myself from saying all these words. But yeah, Habibi, you're hurting your own mouth. The way you eat at the table, in Masechet, there's a Masechet Derech Eretz of how much of food you're allowed to put in your mouth. If you see the food coming out of one of your jaw, of one of your cheek, it's asur. Okay? Sha'at achila ke sha'at milchama. When you have food in your mouth, you're not allowed to talk. And you're not allowed to take your head and put it down into your plate. You have to put the food into your mouth. All those and that's about food, right? You can go on and on. Tamid Chacham that walks around with a dirty shirt, mitchayev benafsho, is chayav mita. Zilzul. You're not allowed. You have to be proper. Nobody's telling you to wear a $1,000 shirt. You can wear a $20 shirt, $10 shirt, and still look beautiful, clean. All those behaviors that are so simple and so close to our human aspect of us have millions of opportunities to be infused with Torah, Yirat Shamayim, and spirituality. This is what Shlomo HaMelech is telling us. If you want to get to the level of Kulach Yafa Ra'ayati, you're Yafa, you're my beloved, and I don't see any mum. I don't see mistakes. Does that mean there's no mistakes? There's not one person in this planet that stepped forward and didn't make an avera. From Adam HaRishon to Moshe Rabbeinu to Shlomo HaMelech to the biggest, nobody. So what does it mean, woman Bach? I don't see any averot. I don't see any mistake. You're so beautiful to me. You're so beloved to me that I don't focus on the averot. That's not what I look at. This is not what defines you. What defines you is the beauty that's in front of me. But that beauty only comes, says Shlomo HaMelech, when you infuse your entire essence with how do I become a better Oved Hashem? Does that make me a better Oved Hashem or less of an Oved Hashem? And what's amazing is that he doesn't discount mundanity of life. He does the opposite. He understands that there are actions, and he understands that we are human, and he understands that we have desires. He understands that we have all of this. It's okay, but just channel them into one direction. Does that make me a better person? Does that make me a better Oved Hashem? And that exercise, slowly starts, growing and growing into every aspect of our life. And then we are Yafeh, we are Ra'aya, and Umumenbach.
Wow, beautiful, Rav.
It
says how much food you have to put in the mouth, and
Yes. Masechet Derech Eretz. It says that if you put food and you can see it on your cheek, like this, asur.
wow.
You're not allowed to put food there. Also, there is one of the halachot, which obviously today almost doesn't exist anymore. But if you eat, for example, a sandwich, you eat something, you're not allowed to bite it and put it down. Why? Because the person that eats with you sees your bite on the food, and it's disgusting. So you have to cut it, and you have to put a piece that goes inside your mouth fully.
Wow.
So imagine sandwiches, the fast food today, right? Everything against that.
A falafel.
Huh?
A falafel.
Falafel, pizza, hamburger, whatever it is. Yeah. So obviously, so what's going to be the answer, halachically speaking, is that today it's not disgusting. People are not disgusting, but at the time it was disgusting. Yeah, but it just shows you the resolution of sensitivity and where you can park Shekhinah and Avodat Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. The best part of the day, Rab. Thank you.
I love you all. I love you. So Baruch Hashem, we did Vav and Zayin.
It's
Beautiful.
amazing because I feel like Hashem puts a compass inside all of us, whether you're alert to it or not is a separate conversation, but of feeling. And you know when you feel good about yourself and you know when you feel bad about yourself. And it's because of how you conduct yourselves. And if you just reflect on that, you'll just know how to act and how not to act.
That's what Chachamim say. Adam, kol adam makir ma'at nafsho. Every person knows how he feels inside. You cannot
course.
lie. You can pretend you lie to yourself,
But it's there.
but it's there.
I'm telling you, I had an experience exact. That's why I kept smiling like that. One night I'm doing the Shema and I'm trying to do the Chashbon. I'm saying that didn't make me feel good. That made me feel good. And the net result was this. So tomorrow, this needs to be better and that needs to be better. And it works. You just have
Well
to listen.
said.
Bravo. You have to listen to yourself.
Yeah, but it's
Exactly.
there.
It's there.
The system is there.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
Beautiful, Rav. Thank you, guys.
טובות טובות.
Thank you so much, Rav.
הצלחה רבה.
הצלחה רבה.
Beautiful day.
Rav, have a great day.